All right, let's dive into something pretty universal. We're talking about that moment of questioning, of waiting, and what it really takes to find faith. Not when it's easy, not after the silence breaks, but right smack in the middle of it. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You're facing something just overwhelming. You cry out for an answer, for some kind of guidance, for anything, and all you get back is, well, nothing, just silence. And that feeling, it's profound, and yeah, it can be pretty painful. You know how it goes. It almost always starts the same way. 1 minute, things are fine, everything's whole. And the next, bam, a sudden crisis. Some piece of news just shatters your world. Life gets turned upside down, and that feeling of control you thought you had, poof, it's just gone. And what's our first instinct when that happens? We immediately try to make sense of it, right? We plead for an answer. We ask for help. It's totally human. It's what we do when we're lost and just need a little light. But, and this is the really tough part, the thing we're really digging into here, what happens when that plea is met with nothing? Just a big, empty void. That kind of silence, it's not peaceful. It's deafening. It feels like an absence, maybe even like a rejection. Okay, so what are you supposed to do with a feeling like that? This whole experience, this cry into silence, that's our focus today. And believe me, it turns out we are definitely not the first people to ever wrestle with this. And that's where we turn to our guide for this whole thing, an ancient prophet named Habakkuk. See, he didn't just put up with the silence. He actually engaged with it so deeply that he basically left behind a roadmap for any of us trying to find our way through that tough space. You know, the one between the question and the answer. And that brings us to our next part, the prophet's complaint. Because here's the thing, Habakkuk's journey doesn't start where you might think. It doesn't begin with quiet, patient faith. Nope. It starts with a loud, honest-to-goodness complaint. I mean, just listen to the raw emotion in this question. He asks, "How long must I call for help, and you do not listen?" Think about that. That's not weak faith talking. That is a real, honest dialogue. It's someone sincerely wrestling with the divine. It's so immediate, so intense, and man, is it relatable. So here's the key takeaway. Habakkuk's strength wasn't in just quietly accepting things. Not at all. It was in his courage to actually voice his confusion, his frustration. He had the guts to ask the hard questions. And that right there, that's the starting point for this whole journey. And this really sets up the core problem, doesn't it? Let's call it the interlude. You've got our expectation on one side. We want a quick, clear answer right now. And then you have the reality on the other side, a deep, challenging silence. It's right in that gap between what we want and what we get that the real work has to happen. So that leads to the big question, right? If complaining is just step one, what's step two? What in the world do you do when the answer just doesn't come? Do you just throw in the towel, or is there another way forward? Well, Habakkuk shows us there absolutely is another way. He shifts from complaint to this really powerful active position. And that brings us to our next section, the watchman's vigil. I mean, just get that image in your head. A watchman on a wall. They're not just chilling out, they're not passive, they're not asleep. They are alert. They're purposeful. They are scanning the horizon with total intention. See, this isn't about giving up. It's about completely changing how you wait. And this right here is the core idea. A vigil isn't just passively waiting around, killing time. No, it's an active, watchful state. It's about making a conscious decision to hold on to your conviction even while you're waiting. It transforms waiting from this empty, frustrating thing into a truly purposeful act. All right, this brings us to our final and maybe most important section, faith in the interlude. So how do we actually do this? How do we find that faith? Not just at the end of the tunnel, but when we're right in the middle of it. Okay, here's the huge shift in perspective. The goal isn't just about demanding an answer anymore. The goal actually becomes building your conviction inside the silence. You stop focusing on the destination, the answer, and you start focusing on the journey of waiting with purpose. So, what does this path of the vigil actually look like? Well, it's kind of 3 steps. First, you ask with complete, raw honesty, just like Habakkuk did. Second, you consciously embrace the silence. Don't fight it. See it as the space for your vigil. And third, you watch. You stay alert,
You look for a new perspective, for a different kind of understanding that can only come out of the quiet.
So why does any of this ancient wisdom matter to us today? Well, for one, it validates our questions. It tells us it's okay to ask the hard stuff. It also completely reframes that scary silence. It's not an empty space, it's a space for growth. And maybe most importantly, it gives us a real strategy, something we can actually do to keep our conviction going when we're surrounded by uncertainty. When you really boil it all down, the lesson from Habakkuk's vigil is this incredible paradox. The waiting itself can become a form of clarity. Through the act of just waiting, actively, intentionally, the waiting stops being the problem. It actually becomes part of the solution. So I'll leave you with this to think about. What if we've been looking at this whole thing backwards? What if that silence we're so afraid of isn't an absence? What if it's actually a different kind of answer? A deeper one, maybe, that's just inviting us to listen in a whole new way.